So this morning, what I want to do, we're going to do an interactive aspect here. I'm only going to talk for a handful of minutes, and then we're going to get some clipboards in your lap with some pens, and we're going to kind of go through an experience. If that's new to you, trying something on in church, oftentimes church is information to you, and if it's a new idea to practice something and have something in front of you and have quiet space and music in the background, if you feel any vulnerability around that, it's because it's a vulnerable thing to maybe try on. So that's okay if you feel that, but I'll just invite you into that here in a moment. Romans 8:28. We've been talking about this the last 2 weeks. Does anybody want to try it on out loud? Is it up? Good. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Another translation might say, to those who love him. And as we've opened up that passage the last couple of weeks, one of the questions that we've been asking is, like, what is God up to? If God's working all things for good, this passage to me actually brings up more questions than it does answers. Because then I start to ask, like, well, if he's doing all things for good, then why is there bad? Why are things broken? Why are things not the way we think they should be? If God is doing things that are good for those who love him, well, does he not do good things for those that don't love him? What about those that don't love him? Why do they seem to have good things in their life? Or doing something to them. Well, if God's doing all things, then what are we supposed to do? Do we just sit back and put our feet up and wait for heaven to come again? Or is it, well, if God's doing all things, but he's not actually doing it, then I must have to go do it all. And I'll go fix the world's problems, and I'll take it on myself because apparently God's sitting back with his feet up. And so I don't know about you guys, but like that just puts questions inside of me more and more and more. And I know there's a lot of people outside of faith that would look at this passage and be like, this whole thing's a sham. That's like, if that's what you're leaning on, this idea of Christianity and Jesus, but that's not even playing out. God's actually done horrible things in my life. He hasn't saved the person with the diagnosis. He didn't keep me from this harm. We can just open up these questions over and over and over again. In the last 2 weeks, we've looked through this with the lens of our vision statement here at Midtown. And what we're ultimately up to, the thing like our preferred future is that we here gathered are a group of people whose lives are transforming so that we can better participate in the transformation around us. Transforming lives, transforming everything. And so Romans 8:28 actually puts in a potential view. Actually, there's oftentimes a word missing in here. Does anybody remember the word that I brought up a couple weeks ago, if you're here? With? Yep, and what's like the Greek in which we might get that from? Synergy. So this idea that oftentimes it gets translated to or for, what New Testament scholars are now saying, the better translation is with. God is working all things for good with those who love him, in synergy with those who love him. The other places that word synergy is used is not that someone is enacting on their own for the sake of other people, it's that they are actually inviting people in. People are doing something together. How much, what is the impact that starts to make in our lives that God is not doing it to us or for us, but he's doing it with us? He's actually invited us into something greater than ourselves. The things that you and I hope for and want to see, he's actually saying, I want that to come along for the most part. But the other things that he's doing, he's saying, here's my preferred future for you, for this world. Can you come help me? Can you do this with me? Can you come alongside me in the things that I'm up to so that we can do this together? And we said that there's ways in which our lives are transforming. We create space for God's Spirit to do and work in us by the practices of following Jesus. We then participate in the world out. We ask questions like, what breaks our heart? What are we grateful for? Why am I placed where I'm placed? Why am I in this job? Why am I in this neighborhood? Why is this my friend group? Why is this my church? And we start to ask different questions to start participating in the work that God's doing of redemption and wholeness and creativity. As we came off of last Sunday, one of the, observational truths that I used, that I found the most helpful, was that the fullest people we know are the emptiest of themselves. Like, if you think for a moment, the people that you were like most in awe of in your life, most attracted to, the person that you want to most become like, it just seems like they have a way of being that they're just empty of themselves. Everything they have seems to be held open-handedly and for the sake of other people. anything that happens to them that they weren't expecting or could be considered bad, it seems like they're just able to like absorb it in a different way to where it doesn't just blow up their life entirely. It seems like they can just walk in a way that is just unoffendable in so many ways over and over. And it's like they're just empty of themselves. But they're so full. They're so full of life and grace and joy and love, the things that we're ultimately attracted to. And so they're emptying themselves to be full of something different. And what I want to do this morning is maybe take Romans 8:28. I'm going to jump back one verse, and then we're going to participate together in the practice in which I think Romans 8 offers us in a way. The 2 verses before it says this: in the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for. Has anybody ever had that feeling with prayer? Oh, I feel like I should be praying. Back to Andrew's idea of church, like maybe you're here because of like moral obligation. Like, man, I feel like I should be praying more. I don't even know what to pray though. I don't know what to do. What do I say? How do I say it? Do I need to like close my eyes and fold my hands? Do I need to look? I don't know what to do. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And he who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God. To cut through that in maybe just simplistic terms is that God's Spirit is either way coming alongside you and I, and even when we don't have words for something, he can accompany us through the life that we're living. That he can actually enter in. He knows the things that are already going inside of us. He knows the things that are going on around us. And that all we're doing simply in prayer is offering our wordless groans to say, I don't know what to do. I'm feeling these things and I don't know what to do with them. I see that pain in the world and I don't like it, but I don't know how to fix it. Like over and over again, we can offer ourselves to God and just be. And this is what it looks like, the beginning point of to be with God in all things being made new, is just to cry out, is just to simply say, I don't know, and to be open to what God's Spirit might do in you and through you. And I know that can be countercultural. In myself, that just blows my mind because I'm like, well, then why do I have hands and feet? Why do I have a brain that thinks I know everything? Like, I could just go around and do, like, why? But like, no, I'm actually supposed to start in a place to say, God, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do. Can you help me? And he's saying that his Spirit is actually upon us, amongst us, and in us to do that work. So what I want to do this morning is actually that. I want to offer a way of praying. And we're going to move through 3 parts. But if I can give us just a short definition, there's a few ways of going about prayer. And one is talking with God. There's moments that Jesus is teaching prayer and he says, here's a way to talk to God. Here's a way to talk with God. Here's a way to be with God. Here's a way to listen to God. And today we're going to talk with God. When we look at Romans 8:28 and it says, well, you do this with me, prayer is an opportunity to talk with God. And we're going to do that in 3 parts. I'll offer them each time. Some clipboards are going to come. I'm going to invite up our chosen musician who's going to strum fingers for about 15 minutes, which is a gift of yours. You doing it, Jason? Yeah, come on up. So as the clipboards get passed out, we're just going to enter into just a space of offering ourselves to God. That wherever you're at in your life this morning, this week, this month, that this can be beneficial in this moment now, but that it can also be beneficial in the moments to come. The days ahead, the weeks ahead, the things that you're excited about and hopeful for right now, and the things that aren't going so well and you would rather not be the case. If you're online, there's a link getting posted to the same sheet that we have in front of us. There'll be a simple slide each time. You can choose to journal if you would like. You could also choose just to close your eyes and process. Just open up your mind and your heart to God and just start to enter in of wherever you're at. You don't have to have right words for this, but just to offer ourselves to God. And we're going to spend about 6 minutes in each rhythm. You don't feel like you have to fill the space the whole time. There's no test. Your paper's not being read afterwards. You actually don't have to share it with anybody afterwards. So with clipboards out and pen slash ready, before you start writing, can you just pause and entertain me for a second by closing your eyes? And then with eyes closed, just kind of become in tune with just what's in your mind right now, what's in your heart, what's in your body. Where might you be carrying stress or worry? What's the thing that's weighing heavy on you this morning? What's something you're unsure about in this next week? And then just feel your feet planted on the ground and your whole body just in your seat. Just as a way as recognizing that you're here. And those thoughts before, that you're bringing your whole self to God. Every part of you, your thoughts, your beings. And with that, we just name that we're here to talk with God. And that we try our best, believing that He listens and that He cares about both the small and the big. And so now that we've at least just postured ourselves to listen, to be present, we're going to start with the rhythm of gratitude. And this simply is talking with God about what is good in your life and world. I don't know about you, but I can oftentimes wake up in the morning and my first thoughts could be the things that aren't going well, the things that I don't prefer. Gratitude is a way of living for more than just myself, becoming aware of the things that are good amidst the challenges. Just go ahead and take this time and just talk with God about all that you're grateful for. And now in the backdrop of all that we're grateful for, we'll move into the rhythm of lament. This is simply to talk with God about what is evil in your life and in this world. What are the things that pain you? What are the things that keep showing up in your own life personally? What are the things that as you look out amongst the world are just broken? Not the way they should be. And our third rhythm, petition and intercession. Asking God to fulfill his promises to overcome evil with good. One author said that, I think it's there on your paper, you can look at all of Jesus' teachings on prayer and it can be summed up in one word, which is ask. Petition is the idea that we can ask on behalf of ourselves to a God who cares about the small and the big details. Intercession is that we can ask on behalf of others, they're going through or having big or small things in their life. So the things that you're grateful for, the things that you lament, spend some time just asking God. Don't overthink it. Don't feel like you have to have the right words for it. Just ask. And before we move out of this space, there is just one more invitation. And that's just for you. Out of this 3-part rhythm, is there something that you might be invited to do or to try on from this space? The reality is that we do get to participate with God by our hands and our feet. Maybe in your space of gratitude, there's something that you're grateful for, and maybe you actually need to go say that to the person that you're thinking about. Maybe in lament, there's something that's coming up that is very heavy for you, and that could draw you towards the way in which you could respond or learn about something or open yourself to something. The thing that you're asking for, or maybe on behalf of others. Is there anything maybe that God might be inviting you to through this time? Something that came up that you might want to pay attention to. And so as we close this, you just did that in 15 minutes. You could see how this actually could be an hour-long space. It could also be done in like 2.5 minutes. So something that we can spend much time in or little time. And I think depending on just wherever we're at, God wants us to talk with him. And he wants to communicate things back. And he wants to invite you and I into the things that he's up to, the good that he is working out. Do you imagine like just a group of people over and over again starting their day, ending their day with gratitude? Like again, I don't know about you, but it's very easy just to look at all that's wrong, all that's frustrating, all the things that just aren't going well. I don't find that to be beneficial often. Caitlin and I, as we celebrate our 12th anniversary today, we had a marriage coach about 1.5 years ago and encouraged us to say thank you every single day. It could be for a small thing or a big thing. Hey, thanks for driving the kids to school. You know, thanks for saying that thing. It could be so small. It could also be really big. And we've fallen out of that in the last 6 months. You know what creeps in is just like frustration and like all the things that we're bad at for each other. And you just start to see like the things of like, why are you, I can't. But when we're grateful, it actually starts to like lift us up. And we start to see things differently. Like we come out of ourselves to be a part of something larger. Because there's always going to be something wrong. There's always going to be something that falls short. There's always going to be something that's not meeting our expectations. But we can actually live with a joy because there's so much good to lament. Now in that good, we don't just move beyond the atrocities and the oppressions and all that is broken and wrong. We actually come more in tune with it. We actually draw it closer to our real life rather than avoid it. But without the ability to process lament, we tend to kind of escape it and tuck it away and fill ourselves with other things. So we avoid the hard and all these things. Or we try to save the world and other people. Because now all the things that are broken and not going well, it's going to come out somewhere. We leak. Stuff comes out of us. But imagine a group of people that can just sit there with God and be like, God, why is this the way that it is? Why is this the worst? Why is this broken? I don't want it to be this way, and I know you don't want it to be this way. And we can process and we can talk with God that helps bring clarity, and He can actually meet us in that. So we know what to do with ourselves when things are broken. And then, man, can we be people who first and foremost ask God for our needs before the things that we naturally go to? Because I know when I have needs, I look for the things that are quick, cheap, easy. They could be at my doorstep between 5 and 9 p.m. tonight. Like we just go to that stuff. And we don't pause to say, God, I know I can do that, but then I have to do it again tomorrow and again tomorrow and again tomorrow. Can you be the one to meet the things that I'm asking for? Can you be the one to work on behalf of this going on in other people's lives? And I think sometimes He's actually going to, like things will happen. But a lot of times I think we're changing. Our asks start to become different when we depend on something greater than ourselves. Each of these pieces lifts us up outside of our own story, beyond ourselves, to participate with God in what He's doing. Making all things new, making all things good with you and I. Those who love Him, those who sit in the tensions of the brokenness of this world, but still find ways to look to Him for all that's good, to be thankful, to celebrate, and to ask Him to have His way. If we could be those people over and over and over again, stuff starts to change, doesn't it? That's us pressing into our lives first and foremost, transforming, so that we can better participate in the transformation that's happening around us. We get to be these catalysts in synergy with God and His work. And that sounds so much better than the normal things that I tend to want to live for each day, which is myself. So I pray this morning that you find a bit of refreshing, whether you felt like you heard something from God this morning, whether you felt like you were just writing words down or just saying things out loud and it's just floating in here and it's just going to fall back down. I don't know what this experience was for you, but I would bet that if you tried something like this on over and over and over again, stuff would start to change. You would look back 3 months from now and be like, some things are different. You look back 6 months from now, 5 years from now. And this is a way of emptying ourselves so that we can be the fullest people to those who know us. Why don't we stand together?